I'm Kayla, and today I've got a word from Matthew 25, verses 14 through 30. In this passage, Jesus is telling a story about this master who goes on a journey. This master, before he leaves, calls together 3 of his servants. To the first servant, he gives 5 talents. A talent is like a unit of money. To the second servant, he gives 2 talents. And to this third servant, he gives 1 talent. After the master leaves on his journey, the first servant goes and makes 5 talents more, doubling his amount of resources that he was given. The second servant likewise doubles his amount of money and makes 2 talents more, while the third servant goes and hides his master's money. After a long period of time, the master returns from his journey, and the first servant is able to come up to him and say, "Master, you delivered unto me 5 talents, and I made 5 talents more." And then the second servant says, "Master, you delivered unto me 2 talents, and I made 2 talents more." And the master says to each of them, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little, and therefore I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master." I think the first thing that I want to clarify from this passage is that Jesus is not saying that our salvation is based on works. Each of these servants already had a relationship with the master. And it was after this salvation, this relationship, that they were faithful and obedient within that salvation. But I think what Jesus is definitely saying here is that faith says, I have confidence that my master is returning soon, and therefore I'm going to take this life and these resources and this time and this money, and I'm going to invest it in order to multiply fruit within the kingdom. This third servant comes up to the master and says, "Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you scattered no seed. Therefore I was afraid, and I went and hid your money in the ground. Here you have what is yours." The master replies, "You wicked and slothful servant. You knew that I gather where I have not scattered seed and reaped where I have not sown? Then you ought to have taken my money and invested it with the bankers, and then I could have at least received what was mine with interest when I returned." Then the master commands that this wicked and slothful servant's 1 talent be taken from him and given to the good and faithful servant with the 10 talents. The master goes on to say, "For to everyone who has will more be given, and he will have an abundance. But to him who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And cast this worthless servant into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." From this third servant's life and his example while the master was gone, we see Jesus giving an example of fear. And that fear says, if I venture out too much, or if I love too much, or if I pour myself out too much, or if I give too much, or if I insert whatever insecurity here too much, then I might lose this one little talent that I've been given, and I gotta hold on to it because I don't know what's gonna happen when the master returns, and I gotta keep this for myself. We see Jesus speaking against this in Matthew 16:25 when he says, "For to him who loves his life, he will lose it. But to him who loses his life for my sake and the sake of the kingdom, he will find it." That's because our life is found in Jesus. It is not found in these things that we've been given. And we are to use them and use them as resources to multiply within the kingdom and to bear fruit. But the Lord would not have us find our faith in our life within them. I think for me, this passage is Jesus calling me out of a fear of missing out. This fear that if I am not constantly doing something and constantly pouring myself out in ministry and constantly loving on my friends and the people around me, then I'm not being faithful to what I've been given. I am speaking to myself right now. I have this fear that is so ugly that if I'm not a part of something, then it's not going to be done right, or it's not going to be done well enough, and that's just not what Jesus would have me believe. Right now, I'm in this season that I need to study, and I need to be faithful to excellence in the classroom so that I can acquire the proper set of skills as a nurse, as I study nursing, so that when I graduate, I can fully and properly care for the people that God calls me to care for. For you, that could be something completely different. I invite you, search in your heart. What talent have you been given that you are burying, that you are afraid to open your palms up to the Lord about? Ask him to show you, and ask him to show you how to invest that talent. Even though it's kind of scary, and even though we don't know exactly what will be produced from it, the Lord has a beautiful plan when we take what he's already given us and is his anyway and offer it back up to him. And when the Lord sees that we do that with our life, and as he continues to teach us that, he longs to say, as we long to hear at the end of our lives, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Thank you so much. Next step. Appreciate you guys.